Couple
We'll
of
see what
questions that
happens.
came in during the week. Donna is asking what she can do about creeping bellflower. This is creeping bellflower with a great name, Campanula rapunculoides. I mean, that it is a punk too. It creeps and sets down small roots. And once it begins to get leaves there, then it makes a taproot and then it creeps further out. And so it's a nasty plant.
You could actually see a little bit of green on the end
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a nasty plant and hard to get rid of. And what's happened with Donna is she's working with some volunteers. Donna knows that you need to go through the whole bed and take all of this out. And it can be a lot. But the other volunteers want to plant stuff. So this is what I was taking out of a garden that was infested with this stuff. So Donna, I have to tell you that when this happened before, and it has happened a number of times to a number of people, but when I was involved in it before, my friend Celia was in charge of a garden, a native plant garden, and there was a terrible weed infestation problem. And the same thing would happen, that people just wanted to pull rather than properly remove the roots.
Yep.
Celia asked me in, she said, can you come and help me? Can you be an outside voice to say, here is what we must do? And you might have to do that because you're trying to kill a very vicious weed, and digging it out is really the only way. You asked whether you could use vinegar on it, whether you could use a vinegar and salt solution. Don't do it. Vinegar is a burn down killer. It will kill the leaf tissue that it lands on. But look at how much energy is in that root. Could make probably about 1,000 leaves before it exhausted itself. So just killing the top, you might as well get a goat and have the goat just keep eating the top. That'd be doing the same thing. And salt, don't do it. You don't want the salt in the soil. That's going to screw up things for plants in there for years and years, depending on the type of soil you have. How long it stays in the soil depends on how well the soil drains, how much organic matter there is in it.
The salts are a lot of problem.
Yeah.
You go along sidewalks that have garden and they use salt, you can see the damage it starts to do on the plants over time.
Even Roundup, if you put it on, the plant will absorb Roundup to a certain extent through the leafy material, and it'll then that leaf cannot transmit viable starch to the roots, and part of the root dies, but only part of the root dies. You're probably going to have to apply it several times. Sometimes that's what you have to do, even though people don't want to use a lot of chemicals. Vinegar is a chemical, salt is a chemical.
Yeah.
So anyway, when you've got bad root weed problems, and I know I'm dealing with a lot of them all the time.
We have the top 10 in our yard just about.
Yeah, you need to take the weeds out.
She actually found a piece of Houtinia that we thought was gone.
I thought I got that.
It's been a year and a half since she saw the last piece.
We also got a message from Peggy, who's trying real hard to stump us here.
Yeah.
To say, what's wrong with my oak leaf hydrangea leaf? And you can see here, it's got fins that come out. It's like a little mutation. But then I saw this. This is insect feeding. Something was sucking on that leaf. And quite often when things irritate the leaf of a plant, mites or sucking insects like plant hoppers, leaf hoppers, they inject a chemical that irritates the plant, and the plant then grows differently. So this is probably a result of the insect feeding. Just like this is, someone sent this one in. This is oak apple gall. So it's a gall that's actually the plant itself made that structure when it was irritated by the mite that's living inside that, kind of like an oyster makes a pearl around itself. It is not a problem for the tree.
It's simply cosmetic. It's like just bad makeup.
It's just weird. And there are lots of galls, all with distinctive shapes, little spindle galls that are red, and galls that stand upright on the leaf that are yellow, and it's pretty cool. I was hoping that we could work in a new word in our scrabbling section, chimera, because chimera is what happens when a plant does mutate, and they can mutate. Jack Frost, the Brunera that Bob was asking about, is a sport. It's a bud of the plant that mutated and started coming out with white on the tissue, and that's called a chimera. This is an example of a chimera that reverted back. As Steve and I say, once a mutant, always a mutant. And so what sported once can sport again. This is the original tree, this trunk right here. this was a low branch that reverted to what the plant was before. And what this is this is a white spruce, Picea, Picea glauca.
Glauca, yeah.
Picea glauca.
Norway, duh.
And right here, there's the plant that somebody planted, or what's left of it on that trunk. That's a dwarf Alberta spruce that had one branch decide to become a full-size tree again. And I've always told Steve, oh, they can't support it. If it sports like that, it'll break off. But that trunk
one
managed to keep on going.
not
which is
only
pretty
did it
cool.
keep on going, if you look back at that picture, you could see a little bit of flare on
I'm
the
not sure.
root picture. You could see flare.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah, I'm not sure how it managed to do it.
either
but
that or it
did.
came from the graft. It's not a graft though.
It did
Is it?
No, it's not a graft. They grow them from
Yeah.
cuttings. Anyway, so that's kind of stuff that can happen out there. And people are sending in mushrooms right and left this year because there are lots of mushrooms out there.
Because
Why?
of the moisture.
Lots of moisture. And you can't kill, you should not be thinking about killing mushrooms.
No.
If we killed the fungus that lives in the soil, this fungus, for instance, which I looked at and said, wow, what the heck is that one? It's called a crown-tipped coral, probably.
Probably.
Yeah,
Mushrooms.
probably. I never say for sure.
Even mushroom experts would say probably.
That's the flowering, fruiting body of the fungus living in the soil. The fungus is decaying matter, is breaking down organic matter. If we didn't have fungus in the soil, we would be within weeks, we would be walking in deeper and deeper litter on the ground all around us. So don't worry about trying to kill mushrooms. They look weird. Dead man's fingers, someone said, the black fingers that come up. They look weird, but they're not doing anything terrible. What questions do we have there, Sonia?
Oh, I was going to say we are at 8:31. I don't know if you wanted to get going.
Let's go ahead and get going because I think we're pretty quick.
I've got everything else saved, so we'll get to them.
Stephen's giving us new questions pictures all the time. Great pictures. Oh, look at that. You got the eye of the bee.
He was threatening me. Leave me alone.
Uh-oh.
She was threatening you.
Well,